a great opportunity to have you here, Archie, because I think very often we talk in AI with people with AI that's very kind of business focused. And obviously, what you have is a business, but something that's involved in something like healthcare, I think really brings home the kind of impact of AI at a societal level where people are at their most, where people need it most, you know? I think we talk a lot about the negatives of AI. And I love that you're here to talk to us about something that is, you know, absolutely essential. And AI is, you know, it being utilized in a way to really help people in ways that they need help the most. I think it's a really, really great opportunity. And I wanted to kick off by talking a little bit about one of the hot topics at the moment is responsible AI and the ethics of AI. And obviously your industry in particular, that's obviously absolutely paramount. Ethics and responsibility is more important than anything else. So I just wanted to get your perspective then on what a responsible AI means to you, both within your industry and in a broader sense as well. What does that mean to you?
I've always loved your content, Anthony, but you grounding our whole conversation right here, like that is going to be probably my favorite part of today, because we don't talk about responsible AI as much as we should, not just because I'm from healthcare, but I think, it might, you think about healthcare, responsible AI. Yes, of course, they go hand in hand because we're talking about human lives. It is not optional. It is life critical. And I get it, right? Like if you're building a dating app, a hallucination is a funny story. But in an op, right, it's a lawsuit or worse, a life lost. And so we focus on transparency and grounding. To me, that is the most important thing about building AI responsibly. And I think that's why, it is important that we talk about what goes into those ethics of building responsible technology, AI or not. For example, when we build and train our AI models to predict on-time delivery of surgical supplies, we train them on trading partner data, both from providers with fulfillment data layered in supplier reliability, logistical delays, even data from, past natural disasters. We also pair every disruption prediction with a confidence score of criticality and sensitivity and the data sources behind it. Because if you are going to trust a model, it needs to explain itself like a good clinician would. Again, if you can think about, if you remember anything about this conversation, it is this, right? If you can't explain it like a good clinician would, your AI agent, your AI model is not going to be as optimized or as effective because, again, you haven't really taken the time to abstract away exactly what the value is going to be. And I think it's important to even look at, some of the past learnings. When some of the first models came out for early mammograms, right? If when the data wasn't trained right on, diverse demographics, diverse ethnicities, race, class, you got a model which we now understood as, hallucinating. It didn't predict accurately or sensitively because you didn't have the right data sets to be able to predict that a breast from a woman of African American origin is going to look very, very different in terms of tissue density versus a Caucasian woman. So you have to be able to, have that learning mindset, but ultimately it is really about making sure that you have the right data governance, you have the right and diverse data sets, and you're taking the time to build the learning into the model itself.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. I mean, what we come back to, I think, again and again and again, is that AI models are only as good as what you put into them, in a way,
Exactly.
aren't they? I think that's always the chief learning here. It doesn't take responsibility away from us. You know, in a way, we are responsible for what goes in. I think very much so. And I think, we talked a lot at AI about biases. and how if an AI model has bias, often it's reflective of our own societal bias. Very often, you can't blame the model. It's showing something on us. It's reflective.
It's the code. It's the coder that's actually, building the model. It's the human bias. It's like you said, the societal bias. Very well said, Anthony.
Yeah, I think it's definitely true. Yeah. And I think it's more important than ever. I think, that going back to the ethical side, I think, let's be honest, this is something that scares people, isn't it? I think it would, like any new technological innovation, especially in an industry like you're in, it's something that does make people a little bit uncomfortable. And I think we have to take great steps, I think, take great pains not just to take care with it, but also to persuade people and to earn trust and show that this is something that is really going to be. We understand why it's scary, but this is why it's going to work. Yeah.
Good. Good, because you're going to scale these agents and AI platforms to millions and billions of users. You better be sure about what you're putting out there and having that diligence to make it bias free, as you said. So I'm with you that it should scare us because it's going to make us better.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm glad you brought up scaling because that's where we're gonna talk about next. Actually, my previous podcast guest, one of the things he mentioned is one of the biggest challenges that a lot of people are talking about right now is scaling, especially in relation to agentic AI. I wanted to talk about this again in the context of what you do. How do we scale these kind of an agentic AI model in what you're in your industry in a way that sort of means that it's effective across many different contexts, still maintaining performance? What do you think?
I will say this. I think any product leader today wakes up worried about two things. One is scale, and the other is monetization, as we talk about living in this new AI world. So, scaling agentic AI in healthcare is like introducing a new surgical technique. You have to prove it works. And then prove it works everywhere, right? That's what scaling is all about. So, a model trained on data from Mayo Clinic can't be just copy pasted into a community hospital in rural Arkansas. When we have a product, for example, called Resiliency Center, and what it does, it really actually, like I mentioned earlier, it accurately categorizes and predicts, possible or potential disruption in supply chain, and then recommends product alternatives during these disruptions. We made sure that it works across dozens of ERP systems, catalog mismatches, and evidence-based, recommendations where, hey, this particular, pack of gloves or catheters is a better example, is possibly going to be back ordered because of X, Y, and Z. And here are your alternatives based on the clinical evidence, they're near neighborhood substitutes. And I think that to me is scaling, that the model, it's like I said, ultimately you have to be able to have the right product at the right time, at the right cost. And the definition of right is rooted into this quality outcome for the patient and providing access to affordable care. So everywhere. And I think that everywhere piece is how I think about scaling. And again, it actually sort of marries into your earlier question. You can't, scale unless you are training it on the right data sets and making sure that you have feedback loops to, correct any hallucinations, if you will.